Welcome everybody to
Farm Sim News.
Well, I'm not going to beat about the bush, everyone. Patch 1.4 is out for Farming Simulator 22 as of the 19th of April. There's been a whole raft of changes and improvements, so I'm going to grab a tractor and head over to the store and we can talk about them on the way. Straight away, let me just say you are joining me on the rather wonderful Greenlands map. If you haven't played this map, definitely download it, give it a try, it's fantastic. I can't wait to play this in a future series. So what's been released in patch 1.4? Well, we've got a whole raft of changes and improvements which I'll list shortly, and we've also got a new vehicle and some new equipment. We'll get to that later on in the video. Jump down to the chapter markers if you want to get to that right now, but first off, let's have a look at the
changes and improvements.
We've got a whole raft of fixed items, added items and improved items, so let's start from the top and work down the list.
Fixed.
Server browser filter, allow crossplay not being saved.
Fixed. Rare
issue when joining password protected servers.
Fixed.
Driving direction icons on various vehicles.
Fixed.
Combine headers tilted after AI has finished its job.
Fixed.
Unowned production points not consuming their inputs over time.
Fixed.
Reusing fertilizer effects with smaller working widths.
Fixed.
Front hubs on the Claas Xerion 8900.
Fixed.
Slurry effects on Biomech Multi 4XL.
Added.
Missing connection hoses to the John Deere 1775 NT.
Fixed.
AI starting to work while tool is not fully unloaded on the Treffler TS 1520.
Improved.
Working on uneven terrain with the Knockling Vector.
Improved.
Axle rim alignment on the Steyr 8150.
Improved.
Driving behaviour of the Boatman Big Master and the Lizard 86 pickup combination when the trailer is fully loaded.
Improved.
Lower distance to ground on levelers to reach the ground in the front with heavyweight attached on the rear hydraulics.
Replaced.
Wheels on the John Deere XUV and the Mahindra Retriever with the new BKT tyres.
Added.
Tour page on the in-game menu including the latest instructions.
Crimson Banshee. Flawless victory.
Well, that covers all the changes and improvements. Let's go over and take a look at the new equipment. We're down here at Taylor's Agricultural Engineers on the Greenlands map. Let's buy the new equipment and take a look. So we have 7 pieces of new equipment added and 1 new tractor. The first one I want to take a look at is the Jungheinrich, so let's jump across there. And here we have the EFG S50 forklift. There's no options for this, it is as it comes. Nice little vehicle, battery powered. Let's buy that for now and we can take a look at that again shortly. Jumping back out into the brands menu now, I'm going to head down to S for we have an entirely new brand added to the base game in the form of Salek. So each of these items here is part of the 1.4 patch update. Let's jump in and take a look at the mulcher and we'll go through in order. So a tidy little mulcher here, 12 horsepower. So if you're really starting on a small farm with small equipment, perhaps you're playing a roleplay series, this is going to be perfect. Let's get that bought and have a look at that shortly. We then have the ANS 1900, which is a trailer. Now we do have some configuration options here. We either have the 1600 litre capacity trailer or we have a flatbed bale trailer. Next on the list here, the AKP 122, which is a subsoiler. Let's go in and have a look at that. No real options here apart from the attacher type. We've got big and small. You may have to check that. I'm not too au fait with the different sizes. I think we'll go for big on this one because we've got a big vehicle coming up to show you shortly. Penultimately, in the new Salek range, we have the TB100 disc harrow. Now this tiny little harrow is quite sweet looking, look at that. It's going to do the job though. Coming in at 1 meter wide, only requires 12 horsepower. You could almost pull that with your own arms. Again, no real configurations here apart from the attacher type, big or small. We'll leave it on big and get that purchased. Last but not least, we have the Plough, the PN2300. Now this really is a tiny little baby at 1/2 meter wide, again only 12 horsepower. I think you could attach this to your little push mower and that would pull this along perfectly well. Again, the only thing to change here is the attacher type from large to small. We'll leave it as large, we'll purchase, and then we'll move on to the one item we are all looking forward to. Back in the brands menu, we're going to head right to the top and go down to class, because we now have the Xerion 5000. This is an absolute beast. Beautiful vehicle, absolutely beautiful. One of my favourites in FS19 for sure. Right, let's have a quick look at all the different configurations we've got. I'm just going to come around to the back, have a look at the different wheel configurations. So we have the Trelleborg, we have the Michelin, Continentals, Mitas, BKT, Redestein, and we also have Claas Tracks. Wonderful. Let's just get a quick side view on that one. Fantastic. If we go back to Trelleborg just as a random choice, we then have a wheel setup here for single tracks, or we can go to twin wheels if we really want that added grip. And I do like the look of the twin wheels there. That looks like an absolute beast. Then if we go to the rear, we've got design for EU and US. That's basically adding and removing various warning signage across the vehicle. You can see the rear there, and also there's a hatch panel near the front. Looking at the additional weights, we start with standard and then we just keep piling on the weights on the back as far as we can go. Now bear in mind, if you want to change the driving direction on this vehicle, you probably don't want to have the weights on. What you may want to do instead is use the attacher. So we can add front weights here, 1800, 1825, 2200, all the way up. Or alternatively, you may go for a 3-point hitch. It's entirely up to you. Personally, I think this sort of vehicle is going to be just pulling big weight, so I would be inclined to go starting at 2600 and take it from there. Last but not least, the engine size. If you went for the 4500, you'd be coming out with a 480 horsepower engine, but who the hell wants that? Definitely go in at 5530 horsepower. That is the beast we are looking for. Right, let's get that purchased and go and take a look. And there we are. Wow, the Claas just looks, well, erotic. What a brilliant piece of equipment. Anyway, let's not get waylaid. Let's start at the beginning and end at the end. So we've got the little pickup here. Let's jump inside and have a little whiz round. As we said before, battery powered. Keys in, ignition is on. Nice little interior, nice and tidy. Everything you need, rear view mirrors all over the place. And then we have complete control of the forklift. We have up and down. We also have our lean, back and forward. And there's a full range of motion there. Brilliant if you're getting into production chains and you're producing an awful lot of pallets. I think this is something I'm going to be investing in my survival series with Dusty, because he's starting to produce an awful lot. Let's have a quick whiz round. Nice and quiet, no major top speed as you'd expect from a forklift. Let's have a look at the turning circle. It should be fairly tight. Yes, it is. Full range of steering there. Yeah, that's a nice little vehicle. Right, let's head that back over. We've got some pallets over there for testing. Let's get ourselves aligned. Do a little lift and drop test. So we can also align the actual forks here. We can choose width. Let's just bring the camera around a bit here so you can see. We can choose the width of the forks, obviously, but we can also move the entire rig here if we want to slightly adjust the width. If we're loading up or we're picking up and we're slightly misaligned, you don't need to reverse and get yourself aligned again. You can just use the whole rig there. So let's give this a go. Now that was fairly easy, much easier than using a tractor or even a telescopic. Forklifts really are designed to do their job. Let's just see what speed will do. Yep, fast turning, nothing strapped down. So just be aware of that when you're doing your loading. I'm not going to be stupid enough to try and attach these to the Xerion. That is just too big. So I'm just going to grab a small tractor, probably the Porsche, and just hook things up and see how things go. But yeah, these are lovely little pieces of equipment. I think if you're working a small farm to start with, these are cheap, they're affordable, and they're going to do the job. Now obviously things are smaller, they're going to take longer, but it's the way we start. We start at the bottom, we work our way up, and eventually we end up with those sorts of beasts in the background. So I've just picked up the Zeta. Let's just jump on board. Look at the size difference between the Claas and the Zeta 25k. Wow. I do love this vehicle though. Look at it. Oh, beautiful. I think that is one of the best sounding engines in the whole of Farming Simulator. That to me is how a tractor should sound. Right, let's hook something up. I'm hoping we can just give it a go. Right, I've just gone to the cornfield to the side of Taylor's Agricultural Engineers. I've got the mulcher on the back, so let's get the power on. See the PTO at play there. And yeah, that works perfectly well, even on a small little tractor like this Zeta here, which I think has only got 25 horsepower. Let's bring up the HUD. Yep, so we're travelling at 8 miles an hour. That's fairly good speed in my opinion. Yes, I think that does a nice little job. Right, let's go back, attach the next piece of equipment and give it a quick run through. Not really much to say here, not much to do, but I will hook up the trailer just for the pretense of giving it a bit of a test. Backing up there. There we go, we're hitched up. So I've gone for the bale trailer at this point. You can see it's got quite a high hitch. I don't think we can adjust that, but that's absolutely fine. Yeah, nice, a nice tidy little bale trailer here. Very nice indeed. And there we go, that's the trailer. Okay, let's go and have a look at the subsoiler. Right, back in the field again with the subsoiler. Now, as we know, subsoiling gives you the same field state as a plough, so this is the equivalent of ploughing. Let's just drop this in the ground and give this field a bit of a churn over. Now 1 meter wide if I remember. Let's bring up the HUD just to see what speed we're doing. 7 miles an hour, not too bad. Let me just plough through some of these bits of corn, and then we'll have a return back round and go and pick up the plough itself. So you can see how the ground state is actually changing. I'll just come through here so you can see it is leaving in effect swath on the ground. Now if you ploughed, you get a different state, and again you get a different state when you cultivate, so just be aware of that. I personally do like a subsoiler. They tend to be cheaper and certainly wider than a plough, but they just don't give you that same effect on the ground. Picking up the plough now instead of the disc harrow. Let's do the plough first. I want to get that dug in and see what happens. Okay, let's drop that down. Let's pull the camera out a bit for you guys. There we go, and let's see how this works. So we've got a mere half a metre of plough here, but it is doing its job, as you can see. We'll come back over in a minute and have a look at the actual field state, how the ground looks. I'm going to cut straight through this swath here because that's going to turn it over. There we go. And as you can see, it is actually churning up some rocks and stones at the same time, as you'd expect. So if you're working on a small field, I think this is absolutely ideal, but anything bigger than maybe a 2 foot square field, then you may find you want something a bit bigger. But it's there, it's in the game, it's free, it's in the core, it's available. Go ahead and use it. Right, let's go and pick up the disc harrow. One thing I do love about this small tractor, the turning circle is unbelievable. Also has rapid acceleration. Almost up to full speed in 2 seconds. Okay, get myself aligned here. Going to drop the disc harrow down. It's going to produce a very similar effect to the subsoiler. Let's push through these crops. Who wants corn anyway, eh? That's what I say. Do like a bit of corn. And there we go. So there we go, we've got all of the different states that we find with the different pieces of equipment. We've got the plough, we've got the subsoiler, we've got the mulcher, which is producing this yellow kind of chaff you can see here. You can see the stones kicked up by the plough. And now for the pièce de résistance. Look at this, let's get on board. Oh my goodness. This thing is better than my house. One day, I will actually sit in one of these things for real. But until that day, I've got Farming Simulator 22 to fulfill all of my dreams. Aha! Right, let's get over to that field, because in that field, you can see I have picked up a massive cultivator. The biggest one I could find, requires 500 horsepower. This thing shouldn't have a problem at 550, I think it was. But yeah, let's go and have a look. Oh, what a beast. So one of my favourite features about this is the ability to turn the cab around, and then of course you can drive this way around. So if you didn't have the weight on the back, then you've created almost a bit like a saddle track in appearance. But let's get this back into position, and then we will get a bit of cultivation underway. Unfold this absolute behemoth. And away we go. Absolutely no problems at all. Let's bring up the HUD. Travelling at 9 miles an hour. This would take absolutely no time at all. Oh my goodness, I love this tractor. Over the moon to have it in the game. Absolutely over the moon. The last thing I want to show you, if you're not already familiar with it, is the different steering modes you get on the Xerion. So at the minute we have all-wheel steering, so as you can see both axles are steering, gives us a nice tight turning circle considering the width of these wheels here. It's actually very manoeuvrable in this mode. Then if we change, we can then have front steering only, so that's a bit more traditional. That's a bit easier on roads and doesn't give you such a wide angle, so you can see where I came around here, it's now quite tight. The next different mode is crabbing, so we can crab left, which means the default is to come sideways. That helps for visibility with different pieces of equipment. We can also, if I just align myself, crab right. So there we go, we're now slightly angled on the default position on the axles here, and as you can see we're going round We do kind of have all-wheel steering, but it's fixed in a kind of crabbed position. There we go. An top-down view works better there. And then we have back to all-wheel steering again. So we've got 4 different steering modes. My personal favourite is all-wheel. It's just a really easy way to drive around. And this thing, for the size, really does shift. So I've cut myself a nice little track here in amongst the corn. It's a lovely vehicle, and I'm so glad that the Giants team have introduced this into the base game. They've done a fantastic job. Absolutely love this tractor. Absolutely love it. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, while I'm whizzing around here having a bit of fun. I hope that's useful. I'd love to hear what you think about the new additions and changes and updates to the game. Give the video a like if it's been useful. Subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of these types of videos. And of course, always go and check out my ever popular and almost world famous survival series with Dusty. Until I see you next time, take care. Bye bye.